What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Processing Blue, where, yes, we process blue for you. I'm Alex Zietlow. I'm here with Mike Kaye. We're Carolina Panthers beat writers for the Charlotte Observer, and Mike does not want me to talk about J. Cole, and so we won't. Mike, how are you doing, bro?
Better now. I'm doing pretty well. You know, it's been kind of a lackluster time for news on the Panthers front, but hey, at least those Hornets, they're keeping everybody interested in the CharlotteObserver.com, where Rod Boone's doing an awesome job covering winning streaks and fights and pretty much everything in between. Alex, how are you doing?
I'm good. The Hornets certainly do have some fight in them. That is for sure. It was, but and though it was though it is a slow period for Panthers stuff, it was still a pretty busy weekend in the world of the NFL. And we're gonna rehash some of that busy weekend and some of that busy week here on this episode. You also got an awesome interview lined up with offensive lineman Nick Samac, and for the friends of this podcast, you know just how special and meaningful that is to Mike Kaye. We're also going to talk a little bit about the future of the Panthers' roster, as we always do. But Mike, first, let's talk about the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 60 was won by the Seattle Seahawks, who crushed Drake May and the New England Patriots. Sam Darnold, on his fifth team, hoisted up the Lombardi Trophy and gave a remarkably boring post-game interview, as you know, was just utterly unsurprising, but it's cool. That's kind of his brand. You guys intersected. So remind me, you were here for what, 8 games while Sam Darnold was with the Carolina Panthers, something like that?
Well, I was here for, I think I missed the first 4 games of the 2022 season, but he was injured throughout the first half of the season and then closed it all out. Got to talk to him a little bit, got to know him just an iota, but just a really nice guy, great teammate. Everybody you talked to behind the scenes, he did everything right. Just once he got on the football field, it just wasn't enough. And I think he's a great example of have patience with somebody, coaching matters. And, you know, sometimes the right ecosystem can create the best in people. And I think he didn't do a whole ton in that Super Bowl. That was pretty much a Brad Johnson-esque performance, a Trent Dilfer-esque performance, but it was enough. He didn't turn the ball over. The Seahawks, I believe, are the first team to not turn the ball over during a playoff run to a Super Bowl win in NFL history. So, wow. Which is really impressive because he turned the ball over quite a bit over the last 2 years as a starter in Minnesota and Seattle. And I think the story of the game was the defense, but I think Sam's resilience over the last several years has been really fascinating. He did give, as you said, kind of a boring post-game trophy talk, but I was really impressed by what he said to NFL Network after the game, when everything kind of cooled off. He talked about a moment he had with his parents, so his parents always had belief in him. And as a parent, or as a son, I don't know how that doesn't get in your feels. He talked about how his parents always believed in him, and that's why he always believed in himself. And I think that's a great lesson for parents out there, for kids out there. And I was happy for him. I think he is a guy who does everything the right way and is a great teammate. And when you see a success story like that, we've seen it with Nick Foles too over the years. It's a really special thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting how after every Super Bowl, you get these moments of, okay, well, this is like people try to make these grand declarations after Super Bowl. Oh, this is the future of the NFL. This is how you now in today's world can win Super Bowls and win championships and be really successful. I find that there wasn't as much of that after the Seahawks won. It kind of felt like a throwback sort of way to win a Super Bowl. And so, and in its own way, that is actually quite radical. Do you think the Panthers, and I know that they're set up differently in many ways, and no one's going to have as, dominant of a defense, at least going forward, as much as the Seahawks did this year. It was just really remarkable what that defense could do. But are there any lessons that the Panthers could take from this Seattle domination? Because um, it seems different, but there are also these interesting parallels. Mike McDonald got hired the same time that Dave Canales did. They have top tier quarterbacks who have, or not top tier, quarterbacks who got drafted really early and who battled a lot of adversity in their first couple of years in the NFL. Like, I know that they're different, but they feel the same. Are there any Panthers takeaways that they could take from them?
Well, I think Dan Morgan's been very overt in his desire to improve the pass rush. And I think Seattle showed you that if you can win inside, it'll help you win outside. So that means your interior linemen, Derek Brown, Tershawn Wharton, Bobby Brown, Cam Jackson, Ashawn Robinson, if he's here, they need to step up from an interior rushing standpoint. And that it's not all about outside linebacker. I think the idea that they had when they brought in Tershawn Wharton was logical. Winning at 3 technique and winning at 5 technique can help you move the quarterback out of the pocket. And then from there, the outside linebackers can clean up and vice versa. If the outside linebackers are getting pressure, that moves the guy inside, and hopefully your interior defensive lineman can clean up and create pressures and sacks. I think when you can get there with 4 and keep 2 safeties high, you feel pretty good about what you can do. It's very difficult. Kyle Shanahan brought this up before the game. If they're getting home with 4 and the safeties are back there, it is very hard to find easy throws and coverage and evade the rush. Like it's a 2-pronged process. And I think the Panthers really need to focus on throwing fastballs at the opposing offense. So that could mean drafting a interior defensive lineman early. That could, instead of an outside linebacker, that could mean spending. The interior defensive line free agency class is not good. So you want to take advantage of Tershawn Wharton's skills, as we brought up last week. You want to be able to rush him from the interior. You want to be able to make him go upfield. That could be a scheme change. That could be a rotation change, what have you. But with that being the case, maybe that means you sign 2 mid-tier outside linebackers to kind of fit in that rotation, and then you focus your draft potential on interior defensive linemen, because this is going to be a decent class there. So I think that's the key. I also think blitzing DBs is the way to go. Like, if you can blitz linebackers, that's great. We've obviously talked about upgrading inside linebacker, but the way that they use Merrig can really be beneficial, and maybe that means sending him to hunt a little bit more this coming season. I think when you look at the cornerback position, we saw Witherspoon attack from outside, and he was incredible because you could trust the safeties in coverage, because you could trust the nickel corner in coverage, because you could trust the other outside corners in coverage. And I think when you have guys who can be buzz defenders, it's really beneficial. But you can't really do that unless you're normally sending 4 and getting home and creating the pressure that you do. There's a lot of trust there. And now that this system's been in place for it's going to be 4 seasons now, I think you feel a little bit better about what you're trying to pull off and how you can add wrinkles to it.
Yeah. And it wouldn't hurt also to have JSN. It wouldn't hurt also to have a running back. When was the last time that a non-quarterback won Super Bowl MVP? Sorry, I should have looked this up.
I believe it was Terrell Davis who did it probably either the year you were born or the year after you were born, if I'm remembering correctly.
Let me look this up. Okay, obviously, I just looked it up. Obviously, Kenneth Walker. Oh wait, Cooper Kupp won it in 2022.
You said it. Oh, I thought you said a non-quarterback, non-wide receiver, or the last time a running back.
Also, it says here Von Miller won it in 2016.
Well, yeah, there were defensive players that have won it. I thought you said non-running back. No, am I crazy? Maybe I was just.
No, maybe I did say running back. Sorry. Maybe I did. Okay, well, anyway.
Von Miller won it. Malcolm Smith won it when Seattle won their first Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You normally win it as an edge rusher, a wide receiver, or a quarterback. That's normally how it's been.
Yeah. Dang, so you just knew that it was Terrell Davis off the top.
Well,
That's
they
crazy.
mentioned it a couple of times in the post game. I was cheating a little bit, but Terrell Davis is probably my favorite player of the '90s. So I loved watching him. I had a Terrell Davis jersey in 5th grade, and I wore it to my picture day. So I remember that like vividly. Like I love Terrell Davis. Terrell Davis is one of like 3 players that really got me into football when I was a kid.
That's sick. Mike Kaye, Terrell Davis, and Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh yeah, Scottie Pippen.
that's so fun. Okay, let's kick it on over to Mike's interview with Nick Samac.
Enjoy it, say Max Sickos. The Processing Blue podcast has a very, very special guest. You know him as the Bitman himself, Nick Samac. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing? Appreciate you having me out.
I'm doing well. You know, almost like being 4-1 when I play more than 5 snaps. Oh wait, that's your record as a professional athlete, Nick. Obviously, you've gained some Samac sickos, as we call them in the streets, over the last few months because of the Twitter back and forth that is only back and forth between myself and the audience. But we wanted to have you on. We got some messages requesting to know you a little bit better. When did you become aware of the bit and how people were kind of gravitating towards it?
Yeah, I think it's a bad habit. Every once in a while, I'll hop on Twitter and search my name just to see like what people are saying about me. I try not to do that. I think I like early on in the season I did that, and I saw the first tweet. I didn't think much of it. I was like, "Oh, this is funny." And then my brother ended up calling me. He's like, "Do you know like someone's tweeting about you, like your name and like your reason of like being activated and winning games?" So it kind of my brother kind of like um noticed it as well, and that kind of like brought it to my attention even more. And then I'd met you, Mike, and it kind of took off from there. I thought it was really funny. I know, good little bit.
So I think you had mentioned it to me in the locker room, I want to say after the Green Bay game, but what people might not realize is your first game was the Dolphins game. That was the first game you were active. You got signed a couple of weeks before.
Yeah.
You guys end up having a huge win over the Dolphins at the time. You guys were 1-3. Then you beat Dallas the next week while you're active. Then you beat the Jets, and you have the first 3-game winning streak in like forever. You're not active for the blowout loss to Buffalo, and then you guys have the impressive win in Lambeau that you were involved in. I think I started a bit probably around the Jets game just because it was like, wow, they're 3-0 when Jake Curhan and Nick Samac are up. Being part of that run, having not been a part of training camp, not been part of those 2 weeks that were pretty rough, like how special was that to kind of join when you guys were on the upswing?
Yeah, I mean, especially coming from a place like Baltimore, where we've had a lot of success while I was there. Um, I mean, a part of the bit too, like you start to question yourself: Do I carry some type of, luck in a sense? But not, in all reality, though, I do. It's really impressive what we were able to do this year as a team. Coming in, very fortunate to be part of that upswing, like you were talking about. But credit to, the work ethic, the coaching staff, what they did here, what they're doing here, what they're going to continue to do. Um, it was really incredible to come in and be a part of something like that because the way the O-line works and the camaraderie that everyone had, I fit right in right away. All the guys that were coming in through the season fit right in. Standout guys like Rico Dowdle, T-Mac, Bryce, all those guys, they had a huge impact for us this year, and credit to them for the great season that we were able to have.
The general audience doesn't kind of realize what happens when you're a backup lineman. You are specifically a backup center, so it's harder for you to get into the offensive playbook, or at least on the field on offense. But you had a role on kick, field goal kicking, and extra point kicking teams, which made the bit kind of funny in turn because, like, yeah, if Nick's playing 5 snaps on special teams, it means you're kicking a lot of field goals, you're kicking a lot of extra points. But the bit got even funnier to me when you got put on kickoff coverage, right? Like that's not a place where people are used to seeing an offensive lineman. Take me through what went into the game plan. I think it was against Seattle where you were on kickoff coverage and trying to make an impact there.
Yeah, that was definitely a game plan situation being on KOR. First time I've ever done that in my career. Never thought I'd be in that position, but our special teams coach, our special teams coordinator Tracy, he gave me the opportunity to go in on KOR because Seattle had a package where they had an outside linebacker DN type on their kickoff team. So I was just basically out there to block him and just kind of mirror where he went. And I thought I did an all right job. It was new to me, but it was just, I think the biggest part of being in the NFL is just taking advantage of every opportunity you can get, even if it's something that's, seems a little far-fetched at first. Just make the most of it, do the best you can, and, more opportunities, more doors will open for you.
A lot of conversations we've had kind of over the last few weeks, we've talked about obviously your success when active. You were 6-5 on the year when you were active in the 11 games you played. The team as a whole was 8-10. So, just saying kind of, there's some correlation there, but you've had kind of a winding road in the NFL. Played 5 years at Michigan State, in and out of the starting lineup. Then you get to the NFL as a 7th round pick, play for a really talented Ravens team. Obviously, Tyler Linderbaum's one of the best centers in the league, so you're obviously automatically kind of facing an uphill battle as a backup. You were on the practice squad all last year. Then you get signed off the practice squad again, or when you're on the practice squad again, entering your second season,
Last year, sorry, not to interrupt. Last year I was actually on the active roster all season, and then going into this year, I got put on practice squad before I got signed to the active roster here. I didn't play any snaps in Baltimore, so I could see how someone would think that. But.
So, but again, that speaks to you being a backup center. It's kind of harder to fit into that aspect of the game. Apologies on that mistake.
No.
That said, it was a big mistake for Baltimore because who didn't make the playoffs? Because somebody wasn't on the active roster. I'm just saying, 6-5.
I mean, it's I appreciate the bid. Maybe I do carry some of that good luck charm. Maybe I carry some of that. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'd be lying if I said family members of mine and close friends weren't saying the same thing. But in all seriousness, it was a little crazy coming from Baltimore, like you said, and just the way we were able to finish here in Carolina. Just kind of the difference in that. It's just crazy. So I have a lot of friends and relationships in Baltimore and stuff, and I always want the best for those guys. But yeah, like you said, it was pretty cool coming here and having the season that we had.
So I read that you were a 3-star recruit coming out of Mentor, Ohio. Ohio State offered you, Michigan State offered you. Why'd you choose Michigan State, and why did that end up being the opportunity for you over your 5-year career?
Yeah, I think the college recruitment was a lot different back when I was trying to go to college compared to now, especially with now. For me, it was just where did I feel at home, where was the family atmosphere, and where did I feel, I was going to be at a good school but still have a great opportunity to play. And Michigan State was my first really big offer, and I visited there. And I think I told the coaches I'm going to commit a week later, committed. And then Ohio State ended up offering me after the fact. So it kind of went back and forth in my head, but I never really wavered. I always knew it was going to be Michigan State, and, that was the best decision I could have made for sure.
Your college career, it seemed like you were splitting reps at center. There were injuries. There was around you. There was stuff going on. Explain to me what the dynamic was at Michigan State during your 5-year college career.
Yeah, if you look at the history of Michigan State, especially the last decade, you see the long line of the Allen brothers, and I don't know as much Jack Allen, the oldest brother, if he played as much center as he did other positions, but I know Brian was a great center. And then Matt was the center while I was there. They're a great family, great people. And yeah, Matt was just a really good center when I was there, and he was a great mentor for me. And I kind of just was under his wing for my first year. And then even in my first year, he ended up getting hurt, and I won the starting job with 4 games left in the season, was able to get my feet wet a little bit. And then it was just kind of like going back and forth. Me and Matt would go at it a little bit, but at the same time, we just wanted to win games. So in 2020, Matt ended up getting hurt again in the first game, and I think it was only a 7-game season that year. And then I ended up starting the last 6. And then going to 21, I was playing the second and fourth quarter of every game. He was playing the first and third, which was kind of cool. It was like a little relay we had going. And then 22 and 23, I kind of took Matt had left. I kind of took the reins on the O-line. So
Coming into the league, obviously getting drafted's a huge deal. What did you learn while you were in Baltimore that you were able to kind of take into this second season and then also finishing up with Carolina on this run?
yeah, I'd say first and foremost, I learned that like rookie duties are definitely a real thing. They're not just like a conspiracy theory or whatever you want to call it. They're not just like a joke in the NFL. They're a real thing. You got to make sure the vets are happy, getting the snacks for everyone and everything. Um, but the biggest thing I took away was just what it takes to be here. I think my first year took a while for me to, really settle in. I think it was toward the end of preseason last year or 2 years ago in 2024 where I felt like finally like I was in the groove of things. Um, but just like, the responsibility of having to learn stuff and take more time on your own to really learn the schematics of the game and everything because it's so much faster paced once you get on the field in the NFL compared to college. So just kind of like the work ethic you have to bring with you every single day to really excel in this league.
Something a lot of fans lose sight of is the human element of the game, and something that I always like to reflect on is the My Cause My Cleats initiative that you guys all take part in this year. I believe you represented the Breast Cancer Fund of Ohio, which provides financial assistance to patients in active treatment, helping them manage everyday hardships while focusing on recovery. According to My Cause My Cleats, every dollar raised stays in Ohio, offering direct relief and real hope to neighbors in need. What made you get involved with them, and why was that important to you?
Yeah, so this year was definitely more important and relevant to me than it ever has been. I would think it was 3 months. I think it was like really a month after I got drafted. My mom had found out she was diagnosed with breast cancer. She caught it really early, which was really good. And then they didn't end up telling me until like midway through the summer that she had been diagnosed with breast cancer. I think they just didn't want to, put too much on my plate when I first got to Baltimore. Um, and then she's been dealing with breast cancer, going through chemo, and she still has surgeries to this day. She's got a surgery coming up in February, or February 20th, I think. So she's been just battling this for the last couple years. And she's finally free of cancer. She's just doing all the preventative treatment and stuff now. So very thankful and put a lot of gratitude for that. But yeah, when I heard of the My Cause My Cleats, I thought what a perfect opportunity to give back to everybody who's dealing with this. And just because I have my own personal experience with it now, and what a way to kind of give my mom that light to keep going and keep fighting and doing what she's doing, just to give back to her a little bit too. So the cause is very important to me because I know, it's not easy to deal with, especially, the unfortunate cases of people that don't catch it early. And, my heart goes out to all those people. So, whatever I can do just to show my support and give back.
Have you talked to her about what the cleats meant to her and what you being able to continue to pursue this career and get on the field and represent yourself, your family, and everybody else in this league?
Yeah, I think they meant a lot to her. So I ended up I asked around to a couple of our community relations people if it would be okay if I would just be able to keep the cleats and give them to her because usually you just donate them to the foundation. But I really wanted to do something special for my mom, and they allowed that. So I told my mom I was giving them to her. And I think the hardest part, not with her like having this battle, is that I haven't been able to be home with her and support her in the physical sense. But um, when I first told her about the cleats, she was like really excited about it. She was really happy. And I was like, "Do you want me to wear them for a game? Do you want me to just keep them fresh?" And she's like, "You got to wear them." So I just wore them out in warm-ups. But she was like, she really wanted them to be game worn in a Panthers game. So just took them out for warm-ups. really uncomfortable cleats. I don't know. I don't. They're. I shouldn't say that, but they're not my favorite cleats that Nike's made. But so I didn't wear them for the games, but they made for a good customization.
Um, you obviously got to play with Icky and Cade, two guys who were gonna have some interesting off seasons ahead. Icky with the injury and Cade hitting free agency. What is important about those guys, and how are they as leaders in that position room?
Yeah. Icky was a super cool guy. He's a super cool guy. I still see him around the facility and stuff. Currently, as he's rehabbing and doing all that stuff. Um, he he definitely was a very welcoming guy when I first got here, and he's one of those guys you can kind of go up to and have a conversation about anything. And Cade, amongst a lot of other guys, was just the same kind of way. And I think a little closer relationship to Cade, just because we both were centers, and I was able to pick his brain and learn a lot from him. Um, I don't know. I think just kind of having him, um, you know, with me while I made this transition into Carolina was, beneficial to me. I think anytime you can learn from a center or anyone on the interior that's older than you that has more experience, like I don't think you can ever stop learning the game, no matter how old you get. So if you can pick someone's brain, and Cade was just that. Cade was able to, you know, help me in a lot of ways as far as the schematics, but he was also able to like have conversations with me about things outside of football, which, if you can have a combination of those things, it's a, perfect relationship within the building of football because, you build a close relationship, but you also are learning from it too.
Obviously, having the experience with the Ravens and then coming to the Panthers, I'm not going to say, hey, tell me which culture was better, but what did you notice about the culture that Dave Canales is building, given your experience at Michigan State and Baltimore?
Yeah. Gosh, it feels so long since I've been in college, so it's hard. But like, and I had some coaching changes in college, so it's kind of hard to speak on that. But as far as Baltimore to Carolina, both great franchises. I've enjoyed myself every part of my NFL career so far. I honestly would say, um, just maybe just the ability to bring laughter and joy into the building while still getting your work done was something I really appreciated here in Carolina. You're able to come in and at first, I was a little pessimistic at first, and I've been very open about this with a lot of my teammates and stuff. Like, just coming into something new, um, it didn't things weren't exactly like they were in Baltimore. So, it seemed a little different for me. I'm only in my second year. After a while, I started realizing like, wow, this is a winning recipe, and I'm having a lot of fun while I'm doing it. So, I enjoyed my time in Baltimore. I think definitely the culture is different everywhere, but I really enjoyed my time here this year.
What does the offseason look like for you? Because a bunch of people watching Processing Blue and or who are on social media are going to be really interested to see how you do in training camp, your first training camp in Carolina. What's going into that? How are you preparing? What do the next few months look like before OTAs?
Yeah, I'm staying here in Carolina, and I am just grinding as much as I can before we get to that point of hitting the grass. And I'm just gonna be here for, everything that I could possibly soak in to give myself the best opportunity come time of training camp and OTAs and all that stuff. Yeah, I'll be here in Charlotte trying to explore a little bit, become more of a native in the city and the state.
This is a pro fullback podcast, as you might imagine. We saw Cade play some fullback his rookie year. We see you on kickoff coverage. What element of your game do you think can be explored? Because you're pretty athletic center.
Yeah.
You're a new school style center. Like what are you willing to do to prove the old adage, the more you can do?
If a coach told me at the start of an off season, lose 60 pounds and come play tight end for us, I would do it. I think I'm athletic enough to play tight end. I don't know. I'd have to work on my hands. I have to stand with jugs machine for a while, but tight end's something I've always wanted to try. I don't think it's in my career. I think I need to just continue to hone my craft as a center. But yeah, I'm willing to do anything the team needs me. Literally anything. Any way I can be valuable to this team, to this community, to this franchise, I'm willing to do. And yeah, I mean that's definitely my motto. Do anything I can.
You had some former teammates. This is my last one for you, but you had some former teammates win a small little trophy called the Lombardi this past weekend. Was it Josh Jones you played with in Baltimore, right?
Yes.
And then Kenneth Walker, obviously, who could ever forget the Michigan State-Michigan game in 2021. I was actually in town, or I was in Detroit on the eve of an Eagles-Lions game, and I went into a Captain D's randomly, and it was on the TV, and I'll never forget that. Anyway, but what does seeing guys that you played with, well, winning at the highest stage do for your motivation, maybe not just heading into the season, but in general?
Yeah, I mean, Josh was one of the coolest people I've ever met in Baltimore. I was really happy to see him. He's actually the second only ever person I've jersey swapped with, which was cool. I was able to.
We have a picture of it actually,
Yeah.
and I saw it today.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen the official picture yet, but I'm waiting to get my hands on it. But that's my boy. He's super cool dude and genuine person. I was really happy for him. And then seeing Ken, there's actually a few Michigan State guys. I know Montori Foster, who I played at Michigan State. He got picked up, I think, on the practice squad. Was there for it. Cody White. So it's kind of like a Michigan State Super Bowl, which was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean that gives me motivation because when I see guys so close to me, guys that I've played with touching the Lombardi Trophy, of course, I want to be in that position. And I think just seeing guys like that you've played with and that you've been so close to, seeing it being a reality for them, you realize it can be a reality for you because you're not that far from that. So I honestly think here in Charlotte, especially with how the season went this year, like the recipe is here. We just got to continue to grind and work hard. And I really, truly believe we can hoist that trophy here soon. So that's the
plan. Some are saying the recipe is having you active on game days, but Nick, I really appreciate you joining us. I know that there is a small groundswell that was looking forward to this podcast when we previewed it last week.
What's my official name for my fan base?
Let's call them the Samac sickos. I think like that's the you have to be like deep in like into football to be like, you know what, the guy on field goal blocking, he's who we're pushing for to be the next superstar of the Carolina Panthers.
You know what? I think my favorite parts of the bit are the ones that don't even have to do with Carolina football, but just the random pictures of, I don't know, what's the ACC championship when you said this game just needs a little Nick Samac. I think that was the funniest part of the bit, was things that were not even relevant to Carolina football, but I was still involved some way or another. But I do want to make a quick public service announcement too, though. Like I said this earlier in the podcast. So thankful and appreciative of the bid, and of course, making my name relevant and stuff. But I do want to give credit to the teams in general and just, make light of, the joke that it's become. But I really do appreciate, being in Carolina and the opportunity it's given me. And so proud of the guys and like what we were able to accomplish this year. So credit to everybody that was involved in this whole entire thing.
So we've got an alternate nickname for the fan base that Zach, who is brilliant, just came up with, the Saymaniacs. So we'll have to workshop it, and then we'll get back to you on what we decide. But it's funny you bring that up. So like the non-stuff, the non-Panther stuff. So I'm covering the Hornets game on Wednesday, and I was trying to come up with like a funny stat for their backup center as like an homage to the bit. But
okay.
We'll see how that goes. But Nick, I really appreciate you joining us for all the Nick Samac sickos and Saymaniac.
The Nick Samac soldiers. How about that?
Oh, the Samac soldiers. Okay. So maybe if you guys are on YouTube, put in the comments, what do you think is the best nickname for the Nick Samac fan base? Thanks for joining us, Nick.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Well, that was great to learn about Nick Samac beyond the infamous bit, Mike. It was really good to hear from him. Did we miss anything? Anything else you want to touch on?
Not really. I mean, if you want to turn to the charlotteobserver.com, we've done some analysis pieces early on this week talking about why it makes sense to go bargain hunting, Rico, aka the Rico Dowdle approach, again this offseason for the Panthers. We also broke down the 7 notable players that are entering 2026 on the last year of their respective contracts. It's going to be a big year for Chandler Zavala. It's going to be a big year for Mike Jackson and others, and it'll be interesting to see how the team plays those out. You can see those at charlotteobserver.com. Make sure to sign up for Access Panthers. The newsletter comes to your email inbox every Monday morning. We've got exclusive analysis, exclusive stories, and much more from both Alex and myself. And we will be doing that all off season long, from the combine to the draft to the owners' meetings, what have you. So we're really excited about that. Excited to kind of watch how some of these staffs around the league fill out. We saw an ESPN report that Jonathan Cooley, the defensive pass game coordinator, is getting interviewed for the Cleveland Browns job. He's probably the one guy I could see kind of being elevated from this whole thing of all these job openings. Very smart coach. Obviously has produced a Pro Bowler in each year the last 2 years with J.C. Horn. Mike Jackson's had back-to-back career years, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I'm interested to see if the Panthers shake things up in the coaching staff a little bit. We'll see. I've obviously been pushing for them to hire an experienced play caller. Somebody like Darrell Bevel would make sense. Not necessarily to call plays, but it would make sense from the standpoint of having an experienced voice in the room, a sounding board. We'll see how that goes. But they did just promote Mike Bercovici to passing game coordinator, so the job titles are kind of drying up there. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But yeah, we've got a lot coming your way. We are not taking our foot off the pedal. I will be also, if you're a Hornets fan, be covering the Wednesday night game against the Hawks right before the All-Star break. So you can count on that. This was scheduled well before the fight, guys. Well, the winning streak. This was always on the calendar. It was just whenever I could get a free moment to assist Rod in his mission to give you the best Hornets coverage on the internet.
The last time that Mike covered a Hornets game, like, he broke 2 or 3 bits of news. So, Panthers fans, beware.
Yeah, it was right on the eve of free agency. It was the Austin Corbett re-signing, the Tommy Tremble re-signing. I believe it was the Brady Christensen as well. Got the numbers on that. So who knows? You know, who knows what might happen? But yeah, Alex, thanks for joining me today. Let's wrap this thing up.
Thanks, as always, for listening to our pontifications on all things Panthers with Mike Kaye and myself and our wonderful producer, Zach Dennis. Please subscribe and follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts by searching Processing Blue. And if you watch us on YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to get notified whenever new episodes drop. And finally, please be sure to stick to charlotteobserver.com for all of your Panthers needs. Mike, stay humble, stay creative, and keep processing.
That's a wrap.